just going to do a quick intro again for some of you who are regulars. You've probably seen our faces many times before, but running this webinar today is Caroline, who is our product marketing specialist, and myself, Niamh, and I'm a part of the customer success team. So today we have a really exciting topic, which I think is something that's been discussed constantly, both mid and coming out of lockdown, where we're going to be talking about the hybrid fitness model. So that's something that many businesses have already adopted and are thriving with. And if you haven't, then it's something that we strongly recommend that you get tapping into. So this is definitely, hopefully, going to steer you in that right direction. And yeah, with that, I'll let Caroline take it away and run through everything that we'll be talking about today.
Great, thanks Niamh, and thanks to everyone who's joining us today, and we hope you get a lot of value out of this webinar. So on the agenda today, first we're going to look a little bit at the data that we've collected over the past few months. We're going to be looking at how the fitness industry has actually changed amidst the pandemic. So we'll just look at a couple of statistics that we have, and we're going to share with you the insights that we have on that. We're then going to go on to the best practices for running a hybrid fitness business. We know a lot of you have actually started with your online classes, and it was nearly like you were forced to do it as a result of the pandemic, but we're going to look at now how you can, as you begin to reopen, carry on with your online element and then marry it with your in-studio offering. We're then going to look at how you can set up a hybrid class schedule. So Niamh's going to be dipping into the dashboard there to show you how that could look, along with using the community section on your mobile app. And then finally, we'll wrap up with some communication strategies to engage with your members, followed by some questions and answers. So if you have any questions throughout this webinar, please don't hesitate to drop them into the questions and answers box there. And we love questions, so throw them in.
We love the questions.
Yeah, keep us on our toes, throw them in there, and we'll get the answers to you then at the end of the webinar. It can be on anything that we're touching on right now, or if there's something that you think of that might be helpful for you, just drop it into the questions box and we definitely will get back to it at the end. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to get into some juicy statistics now. So while I know or appreciate that maybe this isn't the most enticing graph to look at, it is really, really interesting when you actually dive into the details. So as you can see, it's showing from, this graph is showing gym bookings globally, around the world. So it's all of our, not all of our customers, but customers in key markets, and how their gym bookings have actually trended throughout the year. So we start here in March before COVID hit, and then we're going right through to this month, August. So as you can see, gym bookings were trending pretty normally up until the pandemic hit, which we can see there was around the middle of March. So I guess when you look back at the pandemic and everything that COVID did, it was a transformative event. Initially, we did see it as a catastrophic event, but we can just actually see that it did just really accelerate things that were going to happen anyway. So lockdown happened around the middle of March, and we were forced to close gyms and studios. Quickly, gyms and studios started to open up their online offering. And this is what we can see there, dictated by the blue online bookings on that graph. So then as gyms reopened, as you can see here from May onwards, there's a sharp uptake in the offline bookings that we have, but all throughout that time, online bookings have remained consistent as well. So when you look at the global online versus offline class split, you can see there was a small bit of online classes that were running, say throughout March, but it was only as a result of this, like the mass closures that we had to undertake as a result of COVID, that we really saw this sharp increase in online bookings and online classes. And as I said, this was a transformative event. If anything, it just accelerated this transition to online. It was always there. There's always going to be some element of online. And I guess with the hectic schedules that everyone has, online does have that convenience and flexibility for people that now that they've been presented with, it's going to be very difficult to forget about. And that's why we see this hybrid class or hybrid studio model as being one that's really around for the future. So we've seen a rise of online classes, which means that I guess people are looking forward, gym owners, studio owners are looking forward to see how they can really future-proof their business and prevent any, you know, catastrophes like this happening again. So if there were to be more gym closures, that you always have this online element to rely on and to have for your members and for your revenue and yourself.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting, Caroline. I think it's something, again, possibly it's something that you and I might geek out over, because we've been, like, you know, really advocating for the online classes and this kind of hybrid model. And I guess we were running all of those kind of support and webinars. And if you haven't checked any of them out yet and you need more supportive content, all that's available on our knowledge base. But an awful lot of what we have been saying is kind of, I guess, these kind of statistics, I guess, reaffirming, you know, what we have been trying to, you know, recommend for our studios. And, you know, it's interesting, even just from speaking to some members, particularly during GlowCon, you know, we heard an awful lot about, like, the leading experts within the fitness industry really recommending this approach. So, you know, an awful lot of people thought, oh, I'm not going to adopt into, you know, that online classes. It's too competitive. It's not really my style. And yet they really were forced into that type of model, and are now, you know, it's really become like a 50-50 type of, you know, schedule for them. So I think that's really, really interesting to see that. Obviously, yes, you know, indoor is going to be the preferred way. But it's definitely not going anywhere. And I think yeah, if you haven't opted into online classes, I think you'd really kind of need to start reconsidering that and trying to looking at that as a really viable solution for the business.
Totally. And like, I guess we've spoken about before, what you can get, and we'll touch on this again a little bit later, but what you can get from online classes is, first, the security for your business, knowing that you can continue to, you know, sell memberships and everything for your online offering, and also the convenience and flexibilities that your members are getting as a result of having the option to do online classes. And it's all about having this sort of adaptable business, so that you can bounce back from any of these challenges that we've been presented with in the past. And if anything is to happen like this in the future, that you do have that to rely on. So we're not saying that online is ever going to take over the in-studio experience. It's more that it's a complementary balance of both. And that's what I'm going to look at next. So with the hybrid fitness model, what we have here as a key message is, instead of seeing virtual or the online offering as a competitor, think of it as a tool for gaining and maintaining your members. So like I said, delivering that sense of flexibility and convenience to your members. So there's, I guess, 3 core elements of this. You first are looking at the value of having an in-studio and virtual class offering. Then we're looking at community and how you can provide community with this hybrid fitness model. And then thirdly, we're going to be looking at how you can provide accountability with hybrid fitness. So first, giving your members value for money. So firstly, revenue. You can obviously generate revenue from your in-studio classes, but this revenue could be limited as a result of having restrictions or classes being capped. So it's important to think about how you can claw back some of that revenue with having your online stream as well. Another positive from having your hybrid fitness model is that you're providing consistency to your members. So if it is the case that your members can't get to as many classes as they could have before in studio due to these number restrictions, you're going to give them the option to do their additional workouts at home in the comfort of their own home and online. Then also, along with this idea of flexibility and convenience, you're giving them the option to do online workouts if for any reason they don't feel comfortable coming into the studio. And then it provides better value for the service that you're offering. So if you're continuing to sell memberships, some people may be hesitant to purchase a new membership if they're afraid of, you know, what's coming down the line. So by having this virtual element, you're going to ensure that your members feel secure in making these payments, knowing that regardless of if your physical studio is open or closed, that they'll still have access to high quality workouts with you at your studio. Then we're looking at the all-important aspect of community. So community is massive in the fitness industry, and it's what some people really, really pay for. So obviously in boutique fitness, what you're really paying for is that experience and that sense of community that you get when you go to your classes. So continue to cultivate this community experience, whether it be in studio or online. With this hybrid fitness model, what you want to do is recreate these elements of community and of togetherness for your members who may be partaking in classes at home as well. So whether it's, getting people together for quizzes or getting people together for chats, if you want to, share news or bring people together in different ways, it's really important to provide your online members with this aspect as well. And we'll be dipping into this a little bit later as well, but the online community is a great way to, I guess, give your members a bit more value from their membership as well. So that if you're giving people who have an online membership, maybe you're giving them additional workouts, additional stretch sessions, sweat sessions, guided meditation, thinking about how you can provide them with a more holistic package, even though they may be working out at home. And then finally, accountability. So accountability is the key differentiator, and it's what's going to set you apart from, watching a YouTube workout or watching an Instagram live workout. So it's really, really important to think about how you can be accountable, and accountability delivers results. So what you really want to do here is make sure that you're holding your members accountable so that they're achieving these results that why they joined your gym. So it's really important to call out to your members as they're working out in a class, just as you would if they were in studio, that you'd, correct their form or give them tips or feedback. You still want to do that same sort of hands-on approach, even though obviously it's not hands-on, you're doing it online. So it's really, really important, I guess, when you boil it down, to think about what it is that your studio was offering at the beginning. What are those key characteristics of your business that members were paying for, and how can you deliver that in your online version as well? So it's about providing that level of consistency to your members, whether they're benefiting from the in-studio experience or the at-home experience.
Yeah, that's so interesting, and I think that accountability piece really resonates, I think, with me, and something that we've also heard. You would have heard that as well, Caroline, on our GlowCon event, where we were speaking to a couple of customers, and they were using the lead filters or the client filters to see, okay, when did that person last make a booking, and when did they last attend, so that they really kept on, really hounding almost, their members who were like, listen, John, you haven't made a booking in 3 days, what's going on, and I know if somebody was watching me like a hawk like that, like I'd be on the class every single day, so I think that's something to still keep on, to remind everybody of, is that, no matter what type of package you have in Glofox, just there are still those means to still consistently talk to your members, and again, over communication. And I know Caroline's going to share an awful lot about that towards the end of the webinar, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, community and communication, I've said this many times before, as has Caroline, but they're definitely our buzzwords for our webinars since lockdown. So definitely just make sure that you're still keeping that community vibe and that conversation piece going.
Totally. And again, like as Neva said there, you just want to make sure that when you're doing hybrid fitness, you don't want it to dilute down your original offering. It's more enriching it for your members, and you're having it as an additional aspect to it. It's never going to overtake it, but it's going to be like a complementary kind of balance, so that you're future-proofing your business and ensuring that your members feel secure and they feel like it's, a consistent experience with the in-studio experience that they've received before.
Yeah, so this is, I guess, something that's probably getting into the more technical or the more kind of hands-on approach into how you can actually set up and make sure that you're managing your hybrid actual schedule. So an awful lot of the time, this can be done just by, either concurrent, on in studio and online classes. Sometimes studios kind of space them out a bit, so that you might have, let's say, a 6 a.m. online or a 6 a.m. in studio, and then maybe an 8 o'clock at home class, whatever that may be. So hopefully just with this little segment, it might give you just that reminder, if it's the case you're not really sure how to space those schedules out, then hopefully that will guide you to this. So usually what we recommend is that if you are running an in-studio class, that you do space them out simply to allow that 15-minute clean, and it can be longer if needed, in between the classes. I mean, gone are those days where it's back to back, kind of all systems go. You can actually space your classes out a little bit more, so that you're not having gym goers arriving and leaving at the exact same time. You don't want like a Grand Central Station kind of job here. You want to make sure that that's spaced out. And those type of, I guess, attention to your class schedule, yes, it may be inconvenient. You are running maybe more classes than usual, but what it is also, it sends that message home to your members as well, that that you are taking this seriously, that your studio is a safe place to go to. So that's something that's still really important to kind of drive that point home. And hopefully with that kind of message being put across, that your members will adopt into that and kind of really buy into what you're trying to achieve now that you're coming into this new version of the studio since lockdown. You definitely want to try and manage how many people are actually in the studio at any given moment. So again, that can be done by just capping your class sizes, which is really, really easily done. And we'll have a demo after this to run through how that can be achieved. It's really important to note how simple it is, even just like you can amend your entire class schedule and as in your class capacity, so that it impacts all of your classes. Or you can even do it just with one single event on the calendar. If it's the case that oh, you know what, that class we're going to really restrict that if needs be, and that's absolutely fine. A certain example happened in Ireland recently where, up until maybe last week, I think, Caroline, correct me if I'm wrong, but we were able to have maybe 12 people in the studio at any given period, and that was, including staff members as well. So that would have restricted class sizes to 10. But then overnight, we got told that it was bringing it down to actually six attendees. So, an awful lot of studios had to go and, change the actual class limits. And that all was very easily achieved just by simply changing that either on the class event, on the calendar, in the class schedule. So we'll spend just a quick moment running through what that looks like. Then, what that class element also is possible is that even on the member app, you can show how many are actually attending the class. So, I mean, it's kind of changed, and it's interesting that in the past that would have been sometimes been a deterrent if you saw 0 out of 20 people booked into the class, whereas now it's almost like oh my gosh, this is brilliant, an empty class, what a dream. So people are really excited to see that. So there's different ways that you can actually customize your member app and how your classes are presented for your members as well. And that's all in the mind of trying to ease the anxiety of that member, again, coming at it from a little bit of a holistic and caring approach, but it's something that's really going to really support your members really buying into you as a studio and what you're trying to achieve, and just again making sure that they're as comfortable as possible. This is, I guess, very much in line with, let's say, your in studio classes. There is another element where, as Caroline said, that for online classes, maybe you want to try and increase the membership and add a little bit more value to your memberships. And that can be done by actually providing both online classes and on-demand content. So with on-demand content, it's really, really powerful because you can choose and tailor what you're actually going to share with your members. So again, not to sound like a broken record, but speak to your customers, listen to what they want, listen to what they need. There's no point you putting up, how to do a squat if it's the case that they actually want a few recipes, or if they actually want some meditation. So, it's really important that if you're wondering, you're looking at this section on your dashboard, like where do I even begin? Definitely check out some of our past webinars, as we've done an ample amount of content on this. But B, listen to your studio or listen to your members as well, because that's where you're really going to find the content that's needed. And once you get that step going, then it'll start getting legs, and you'll be able to add a really more robust kind of portfolio of either YouTube articles or YouTube videos, articles themselves. The way that you can almost kind of create value to this, and this is something that we've introduced, and it was a particularly one of my nearly favorite features that's come on throughout the lockdown period, is that we now can actually make this exclusive or premium content. So what that means is that we can, if you are creating a membership, you can say, listen, for an extra €20, dollars, pounds, you can actually get, you know, all of this online content that's reserved for members and members only. I'm an absolute sucker for this type of sales technique where you're creating that bit of exclusivity. You know, you want to make sure that you're getting everything. And, you know, for that extra bit of revenue, not only are you, you know, securing that member, because it's a little bit more difficult for that member to kind of get lost and to actually cancel their membership. So from a studio's perspective, that's your dream, is to get people on your memberships, right? It also shows a more committed member. If you got someone on a service credit pack, they're very much there for just their value for money, which is absolutely fine. There's no judgment towards that. But from a studio perspective, you really want to try and introduce as many revenue streams as possible. And this exclusive or paywall content, which is what we kind of refer to also, is going to help you achieve that. So you can kind of give a little taster of like a home workout video. An awful lot of, you know, people have been giving an awful lot of free content. It's saturated the market an awful lot, and I'm a massive advocate of, you know, where you can charge for your classes and your content, and where you can add value as in a monetary value. Definitely do it. Like, you've all worked extremely hard, you know, your trainers have worked extremely hard, you're qualified in the actual class that you are providing and the content you're providing. So definitely make sure that you're getting that, you know, return of investment as well. So you know, this is one step to do that, where, you know, you can give them a quick taster of a 15-minute workout and say, listen, if you want another 40 minutes, buy this membership, and it's going to be exclusive for members and members only. What do you think about that, Caroline?
Yeah, I think you touched on some really great points there, and it also ties into that point of, you know, communicating with your members, and again, cultivating that sense of community. So if you decide that you want all of your content that you're putting here on this on-demand section, if you want it to be available to everyone that has the app, all you have to do is ensure that, you know, you don't toggle on this restriction, and then that means everyone's going to get it. That's going to help, you know, to share, I guess, your brand with other people. They have an idea of what it is that you're actually selling, and it can also still incentivize people to join. I think we've seen this being used really, really well as well at a time like this, where there's a lot of anxiety about returning to the gym. So by even, you know, uploading videos here of, you know, what your in studio offering actually looks like now, what sort of, you know, spacing do you have, how will the member experience look for members who are, you know, going through your doors for the first time in maybe 4 or 5 months. And it's a really great way to show snippets of, you know, your day, what your members can expect when they come back, and then really just ease that member anxiety that they might be experiencing as well.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll actually just jump into a demo for everybody now, so we can have a little look at what those class setups look like, and also you know, what the paywall content can look like as well. So I'm just on a staging account here. If people aren't familiar with how to set up classes, you know, if this is their brand or their very first time kind of trying to set up a class, don't stress too much about it. This will be a really quick demo, so I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty aspects of it. But if you are concerned on how to do that, you can access our knowledge base, and in the Getting Started tab, you can find out how to set up all of your classes. So we've got you covered there. But really quickly, I'm just going to jump into what some of our classes look like. So you go into your classes tab here, and you can add images and so on. So we're just going to have a look at this HIT class in particular. Whenever you go to set up a class, you have that option to either select online or on-site. And it's literally as simple and as easy as just clicking either it's on-site or an online, and that's the type of class that you have set up. It's not rocket science. So once you have selected it as an online class, that's it set up as an online for good. You cannot bring that back to an in-studio class, and vice versa with in-studio. Here you can immediately see that you've got like a certain class size, so you can restrict this to 30. Usually for your online, you can raise those up a little bit more. I wouldn't be going to maybe like 300, though if you want, that's absolutely brilliant. It means you're super ambitious and you're ready for that number, so that is class. But usually if you try and keep it at a small 30, it gives you that opportunity, as Caroline mentioned, to make sure that you are engaging with your members, giving them a shout out. If you can try and do that with 300 members, then sign me up to that class and let me see how you do that. If it's the case that you want to kind of juggle and, you know, change the settings, you know, depending on which hour, then that's also possible here as well. So you can really go super granular into the actual slots, and it's not just an overall one size fits all. Here's the same settings apply whenever you're setting up an in-studio class. Usually these will be a little bit smaller, just based upon like the regulations and your geographical location. As I said, you know, in Ireland, I think we might be back up to 10 now, but that could change again. So, you know, it's just important that you do adhere to all of that. So overall, that's how you can make sure that you can just change the class settings and the class sizes really, really easily. If it's a case then that we want to have a quick look at seeing those classes run concurrently at the same time, again, you can have this spaced out where you have one online class at 8, another, let's say, in-studio class at 9, so on and so forth. You kind of get the concept. But it is also possible to have these running at the same time, and it's actually easy identifiable as well, what's an in-studio class and what's an online class. So you can see here, just from a staffing perspective, anything that's highlighted in a red box, that's an online class that doesn't actually have their link attached to it. And once it does have a class or its link attached to it, it will appear in green. So you're going to be able to differentiate between an in-studio and an online class. You'll then be able to see your hit in-studio classes. You can see, you know, that this is which facility this is in. So if this is in the boxing area, it kind of indicates that it's going to be an in-studio class. If it's a case that you actually just need to edit this particular day and this particular class, then you can do that here also, just change the class sizes. And that's not going to have any knock-on impact into the future bookings. It's just going to change this particular event. So we've got you covered if it's the case that you just need to make some small ad hoc changes. So what that can look like on an actual live member studio. So this is an example of a customer in Ireland, in the south of Ireland at the moment, and they're running those kind of online classes. They aren't running them concurrently, but they do have them spaced out. So this is what their actual schedule looks like here. So you can see you've got online class, open gym. You know, this is where if you do have an open gym, they've done it really, really well here. They've like really narrowed down maybe 6 people into the studio at the one time. They've taken into consideration that there's going to be staff there. So they've amended all of their class sizes. So you can see it's pretty intuitive and straightforward. They can see whether it's an online facility, whether it's in the squad or so on. So again, very, very clear for your actual members to pick up. You know, again, those are really like the basics of how to set up your online classes and how that online schedule can work. You can have these spaced out, even if it's a case that you want to try and set up an in-studio or an online class. If you find you're getting massive demand for it, then you can do that as well. And you can make sure that you can just set up your class if it's a case that you need to do any ad hoc settings there.
Yeah, and I think we've seen it done a lot of ways. So I guess it goes back to your point, Niamh, about listening to your members. It could be the case if you have a small studio with limited space or just one entrance, it might make more sense for you to stagger your classes so that you might have a 9 a.m. in-studio class followed by a 10 a.m. online class and an 11 a.m. in-studio class, so that you can ensure that all pathways and doors are cleared so that people can move through comfortably. You know, if you have a bigger studio, more space around, then you could have the option of, you know, running classes side by side, so you could have an online and an in-studio on the hour every hour, but just allowing that time at the end of the class to clean down your equipment and to ensure that people can move off in time. So again, listening to your members is key here, getting feedback from them as you try and shape and mold your hybrid fitness offering. It's obviously going to take a little bit of time to figure out what works and what doesn't, but it's again, listening to your members, sending out surveys, speaking with them as regularly as you can to figure it all out.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. And if we then move and transition into the Connect tab, we can see how you can, I guess, control and schedule, you know, your online content as well. So it's kind of the opposite, but the same concept that's involved with, let's say, your in-studio classes. So here you've got your online content in your classes. That's absolutely great. But this is where you can go in the Connect and the Community tab, where you can actually go and set up then these articles. So, you know, you can choose here whether it's a video, that's going to be a YouTube video. You can make sure it's unlisted, so not everybody can actually access it, only everybody who has access to the app. Or you can just add an image and it can be just a regular article, and you can, you know, provide some content shared there. Very simply, you know, if you want this to be shown to absolutely everybody, then you just untick that box and absolutely everybody can see it. If it's just for members and members only, that's how you can set that up. So, you know, from an administrative perspective, it's very, very simple. It's just a little tick. You can easily identify which content is your members only by these members only tag. If they don't have the tag, then that means they're visible for absolutely everybody. A particular flow I like to run through is how this can actually look like on the member app. So here you can already see the exclusive sign, and if you have the dictionary as well, you can change that to premium if needs be, so it can match your kind of overall tone of the studio. But how it works, if Neve comes along and is the eager person that she usually is to try and get into that exclusive content, I actually get blocked because I'm a pay-as-you-go customer and I don't have a membership. So very intuitively, I'm then brought throughout the entire membership flow, and I'm given a clear line and clear indication of what steps I need to be taking each way. So our UX team and product team have worked really, really hard in ensuring and designing that product and that flow. So it's absolutely seamless. You're keeping the blinkers on your members so that they really only have one goal at the end of that, and that's to purchase a membership. Once they purchase that membership, the content is available for them and they can start, benefiting from all of that. So, again, it's a pretty quick run through, but an awful lot of it is pretty straightforward in terms of how to actually set all of those up. If you do have any kind of queries about, am I doing this right? I don't know, is this the right concept? Definitely have a look at our knowledge base. We've tons of, content there where it's like live and on demand, how to, get the most out of it. And Caroline and I are kind of blue in the face from talking about all this in our webinars, but we are extremely passionate about it. So even if you do need an extra bit of hand and you would like that consultative piece, just reach out to customer success at glofox.com. If you don't benefit from any of these features and you would like to, again, reach out to customer success at glofox.com and we'll be able to pick that up and arrange a call and get you sorted.
Exactly. And I think another point that we should speak a little bit about as well with on demand. So once you've actually put your content out there, it's really important to let people know any new articles or any new videos that have been made available on there. So then you do have the option of using push notifications or of course SMS to let your members know that there's new content out there that they should check out. And again, use this time as a time to learn and reflect on exactly what your members want and how you can provide a best in class experience to them from what you've learned. So in line with that and on communications, we're also going to talk a little bit about how you can communicate clearly with your members. So it's really important at a time like this that you are keeping the lines of communication open and that you're letting your members check in with you easily and regularly so that they can stay up to date with everything that's happening in your studio. Changes are happening every second. I know every moment it's like there's a new update and everything has changed. So it's really important that your members know exactly where they stand with going to your studio. There's obviously this element as well of social anxiety for members who are returning to this new normal, and they need to know exactly how it's going to look when they're coming into your studio. So communicate with them early and regularly when you are organizing for your hybrid schedule to go out there, or when you're even opening up your doors. And really, really important to set these expectations and outline procedures. I know for myself, when I was going back to the gym, I had no idea how it would actually operate. Was it the same as before? Could I shower before or after the class? Could I bring in my water bottle? Could I bring in a towel? I wasn't even sure what you could do. So it's really, really helpful for you to send out these communications to your members so they know exactly what they need to do. If there's going to be temperature checking on the door, if there's hand sanitizer there, let them know. You cannot over communicate. It's best to really share everything you can share with your members regularly. Really important to be available for any questions and concerns members might have. You don't want to leave them in the dark, and you don't want to leave any members, sitting there without any communications from you. So if it is the case that you have a limited number of, trainers in your studio, it could be a really good idea to give some of your trainers the responsibility of reaching out to all of your members, checking in with them, seeing where they stand. Are they comfortable coming back into the studio? If they're not, let them know that you're going to be having an online element to your classes as well, so that they can keep going with their membership. As well, when you're running with these online classes, you're taking into account your members' needs. So if they have health or safety concerns, or if they're price sensitive, see how you can meet their needs with your hybrid class model as well. So I'm conscious of time, so I'm just going to zoom through this part, and then we're going to open up to any questions you may have. So I see we have a couple of questions in there already, but do keep firing in your questions. So when we're talking about hybrid fitness model, we're saying it is the future. So it's never going to take over 100%. You'll always have that in-studio element. It's more that your hybrid fitness model is going to provide security for you and for your members. So it's really important to change your Facebook ads from images to videos, reflect your current offering so people know exactly what it is that you have. Reinforce the value of these online workouts whenever and wherever you can. Share member stories. Like we said, post snippets of what your online workouts look like, post snippets of what your in-studio workouts look like, and keep sharing this with your members. Put your lead capture forms everywhere. It's really important to capitalize on all of the marketing that you're doing with this new hybrid fitness model. Give everyone the opportunity to partake in a class, and you could even use this option to try a virtual class before they even come in studio as a way to get people comfortable with attending your studio. We've seen it being used really well now, this hybrid fitness model, as like a lead generation tool, so that you're sending out these videos, you're giving people the option to drop into an online class, maybe even for free for their first class. So then you're collecting information so that you can reach out to them again when you have more offers running, and to use this to get new members in your doors. Again, with the hybrid fitness model, this is showing again that you have the in-studio offering and the online offering. So your membership would be one that caters to attending online classes and in-studio classes as well. So all in all, what we're trying to do is using these skills that you had to develop as a result of the pandemic and use them to survive now, and also to cater to your members and for your business in the future. So online classes are definitely here to stay. While I still have a breath, I'm going to just keep going. So the knowledge base we have is continuing to grow. So we have articles on remote fitness, community engagement, lots of different areas to help you use the platform as best as you can, along with keys to success and best practices. So I'd really recommend checking out those articles, and we'll include them in our follow-up email that we'll send out later on this week. And then finally, our blog and podcast is continuing to grow. So we have some really, really helpful articles here, some which are particularly relevant for today's topic. So an example of this would be 10 fitness contests and challenges for a hybrid fitness business. So hopefully after this webinar, this is something you feel comfortable running with, and maybe you can even set up your own hybrid fitness challenge for your members down the line. So with all that said and done, we would love to answer any questions that you have.
So I see a question just coming in there from Kevin, Caroline, and he's asked, that he hasn't really adopted that much into the online classes. He sees other studios really succeeding with it, but how can he adopt and get that success as well?
Okay, that's a good question. I guess it is daunting if you maybe stopped all classes while your studio was closed, and then maybe you reopened and it was just you went back to in studio. So what I'd really recommend doing to start getting into the rhythm of these online classes is maybe reaching out to some of your regulars, letting them know that you're thinking of setting up these online classes and asking them to partake in them. They obviously know the energy that you provide and the experience that you provide in studio. So by getting them on board and gathering feedback about how they find your online classes could be a really good way to have a sort of a trial before you go live with the whole online class procedure. So I'd really recommend, getting your regulars involved, and then just trying to make, that online experience as close to your in-studio experience as possible.
Yeah, I think that's really good, and I think like it's also you aren't the only one. Like there are other studios that have struggled to get onto that online and that like hybrid kind of schedule. So I think definitely, like I know Caroline has worked as have I, but Caroline's worked extremely closely with many of our customers just to learn about how they have done this, and all that's available on our customer success stories or on our knowledge base. So you can tap into them, and actually it's as if you're speaking to that customer, where you get to learn, how they managed it. We also have the GlowCon recording as well, and that had, so many inspirational speakers about, I guess, if you can geek out about that within the fitness industry, who have really said, I know particularly the squad that we just shared, they weren't planning on doing online at all. They were like, do you know what, that's not for us. And yet now they see their future like pretty predominantly, you know, with online forever there. So it's something that definitely it's daunting, but it's worthwhile to do your research on and to really plan it out, and definitely plan it out. Don't just go hell for leather into it. As Caroline said, speak to your members, remember your worth, and then start making a plan about how you can get that going.
Exactly, yeah. And again, it's trial and error. You're going to have to try and figure out exactly what role you want online to play for your studio and for your members. And again, it's just all about being really adaptive to change, being able to, you know, switch up your offering, ensuring that you're resilient through any changes that may happen down the line. And again, just, I guess, learning from the experience and learning from your members as well.
Yeah.
So I see that we are getting close to time. So any other questions that do come in, we will reach out to you privately with the answers to those questions, as we're sure that you're all very busy and need to get back to running your gym. So again, if you have any questions, do drop us a line, even reach out to support@glofox.com, and we'll be sure to get your answers to you. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you found it valuable and beneficial, and we hope to see you running your hybrid fitness model sometime soon.
Thank you so much. Take care.